High school football week number 11. We have reached the final week of the regular season as we take a look at another matchup. The James Wood Colonels hosting the Millbrook Pioneers in the last week of the season. Last week, James Wood defeating Liberty 53-21. And Coach, I'll ask you this. What really stood out to you? And I think I might know the answer to this. 667 total yards in this game. I'm sure that's really good to see your team put up 667 yards in a football game.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of a crazy game. It was a lot of penalties in that game. I think we had when we scored a lot of points that game, but we also took a lot off the board. I think we had 6 touchdowns called back in that game. So we were doing really well offensively, to say the least, that night.
So you mentioned the penalties and stuff in a big game like that, where you defeat a team by such a big margin, but having some of those penalties. With the win, obviously it's great to win football, but how are you looking at correcting what your team has done with those penalties to try to eliminate those come the next week?
Yeah, I mean, some of it was on us. Some of it was just, I didn't feel like, it was necessarily, flag worthy. We've kind of moved on from that. Some of it might have been, stemming from the bye week. You're a little rustier because, we hadn't played a game in a couple weeks. So, some of the penalties may have came from that. But going back, there wasn't anything that I think we needed to really address or correct majorly. We're just really, focusing on what we need to do this week to kind of, finish the season strong and hopefully get a win Friday night.
And defensively holding Liberty to 21 points, what really stood out to you on the defensive side of the football?
Yeah, I think it might have been the best game all year where we've had guys running to the football. At times we showed that, periodically, but we had some ups and downs throughout the season. But as a whole, for 4 quarters of football, I thought our guys really ran to the football. We knew 22 was really, the running back was elusive. Their quarterback was really good as well as scrambling. So we did a few things adjustment wise defensively to kind of try to keep him in the pocket and not let him scramble quite as much. So I thought those adjustments worked really well. And then, like I said, our guys really ran to the football. And the first guy, didn't make the tackle. He was making him cut back into somebody else that was right there to make the tackle.
So just take a look overall at this week hosting the Millbrook Pioneers, doing what they do best in running the football. I know the single wing is sort of a tough thing to defend, Coach, but how do you look at the single wing and how do you sort of attack it in your mindset, and how do you look to sort of stop Millbrook from doing what they do best?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to like completely stop it. They move the ball. That's what they do. They're going to line up and run it. I don't know if they even attempted a pass against Hanley. So they know what they like to do. We know what they like to do. It's up to us to kind of figure out a way to minimize it or to slow it down a little bit. Because they really want to time control, eat up the clock, limit possessions, our possessions on offense, and that's kind of the biggest thing is to try to get some stops. And when we do get some stops, offensively, we need to make those count.
And offensively for your Colonels, it just seems like week in and week out, you have different playmakers that make moves for this James Wood Colonels football team. I'm sure you're expecting some of the same, but offensively, how have you liked the production from last week before, up until now, in a sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think every week we've kind of gotten a little bit better. Early on in the season, I mentioned it multiple times that we were challenging the offensive line to get better. We were struggling in that area early on in the season. Last week we kind of mixed things up a little bit, and we started a freshman at left guard, moved a right tackle to left tackle, started another kid at right tackle, Stuart Wiley. So, I mean, as far as, the offensive line, it's been kind of a, shuffling things around there a little bit, but, I think they've progressed nicely. Everybody knows if you can you have a pretty decent offense and defensive line, you can win some football games. And I think our offensive line has really, gotten better as the years going on, and that's rightfully so. I mean, those guys are some young guys. Our last week we had, we started one senior. Everybody else was either a sophomore, a freshman, and one of them was a junior. So they're young guys. They're learning, they're growing, and look forward to them. Having those guys around for a couple more years.
Once again, it's a Northwestern District battle as James Wood is home facing off against the Millbrook Pioneers. As always, joining me, the head coach of the James Wood Colonels, Todd Wilson. Coach, as always, really appreciate your time here, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Josh.